Hello everyone! Today I'm talking about how to pick a cool Chinese name. The first question we need to look at is why do you need a Chinese name? So in my opinion, this really has something to do with our culture. For example, if you are taking a foreign language at school, if you are taking Spanish, French, or German, your professors will probably just call you by your English names. Well, if you're in a Chinese class, it is very likely that your professor will call you by your Chinese name. If you have Chinese friends, you will also notice that your Chinese friends are interested to know your Chinese name. So this situation is really very Chinese. It is even different from Japan. So, for example, if you're taking a Japanese class, your Japanese professor will probably just write your name in katakana. I think this has something to do with our culture and philosophy, because in our philosophy there is a tendency to be inclusive. So we want to include you. That's why we want to call you by your Chinese name. So, well, your Chinese name is not necessarily something that you should pick for yourself. For example, if you have Chinese heritage, your parents or grandparents, your family, probably already have a Chinese name for you. So you just check with them and use the name given by them. Also, if you are from Japan, Korea, or Vietnam, of course, Japan still use Chinese characters, kanji. So if you're from these areas, and then you need to check the dictionary and see how to write your name in Chinese characters, and you just write your name, Japanese, Korean, or Vietnamese name in Chinese characters. That's the way to do it. And if you don't have Chinese heritage, if you are not from Japan, Korea, or Vietnam, so this video is for you, how to pick a cool Chinese name. So through my observation, the typical way is Google Translator. So you simply put in your English name, for example, Michael, and then Google Translator will tell you 麦克尔, and then you use this 麦克尔 as your Chinese name. And Mary, for example, will become 玛丽. Okay, so these Chinese names are fine, but just very foreign. Okay, so we look at them, we know you are not Chinese. So we want to include you, so it will be better for you to have a cooler Chinese name. How to make your name more Chinese? I think the most important thing is it gotta be meaningful. So if we look at this example again, 麦克尔, these three characters putting together, they are really not making any sense. So please think of some meaningful characters or meaningful words. But while you are thinking about meaning, there are a few additional things you need to pay attention to. Okay, so first, our culture talks about doctrine of Ming, 中庸. This is like a key concept of Confucianism. Okay, so according to this, like the meaning of your name shouldn't be very aggressive or very high profile. For example, I had some students who had names such as 明星, star or celebrity, 天才, which means genius, 厉害, which means awesome. Indeed, these are meaningful Chinese words. Okay, these are making sense. But in general, Chinese people just don't tend to use these words as our names. And second, please be careful with the names of famous characters from books, movies, or dramas. Okay, so for example, this is a real case. So this person coming to China with this Chinese name, Tang Sen. Okay, Tang Sen, this is a character from the Journey to the West. Okay, but do you know what does Tang Sen literally stand for? Tang Sen literally means a Buddhist monk of the Tang dynasty. Okay, also, in this movie called 大话西游, this movie is very popular among the young generation. Okay, so in this movie, Tang Sen, this character is a whiny guy, a guy that you probably don't want to be like. Okay, so this is just always the case if you're using the names of the characters from books, movies, dramas. There are just always some cultural connotations that you are not clear about. So in general, please just be careful. Third, you will notice some literary images that commonly appear in Chinese names. So for example, you will notice in many Chinese names there are this radical, jade radical. Okay, so why do we use that in our names? Because Chinese people appreciate the warm and gentle texture of jade. We think that represent the virtue of human beings, so that's why we are using it. Similar situation also applies to some plants. So for example, plum blossom, orchid, bamboo, or chrysanthemum. Okay, so each of them represents some virtues of human beings. And such examples also include some trees, such as pine tree, or mountains, rivers, or some kinds of birds. Just now we talked about the meaning of a Chinese name. So now we are going to look at the structure of a Chinese name. I will use my name as an example. So my name is Zhang Laoshi. Okay, so in this name, Zhang is the surname. Okay, Zhang is the last name. Laoshi is a given name. So to put in a simple way, in a Chinese name, last name comes first. So if you want a complete Chinese name, so you not only need a given name, you also need to think about a surname. In an ideal situation, the surname would coordinate with the given name, which means, like they go together. And here are some tips to consider. Okay, so the first tip is a phonetic tip. So when we talk about phonetics, so these include tone and rhyme. Okay, so Chinese is a tonal language. We have 4 tones. For example, like ma, 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 ma mean 4 completely different, unrelated things. Okay, so and in traditional poetry, the first tone and the second tone are called pingsheng. Okay, so like you can understand in this way. Okay, the first tone and the second tone, they end with a higher pitch. Okay, ma and ma, they end with a higher pitch. Okay, so whereas the third tone and the fourth tone, ma, ma, okay, so they end with a relatively lower pitch. Okay, so in traditional poetry we call it 仄声. Here we just call them lower tones. Okay, so and then a good Chinese name always has a balance between 平声 and 仄声. So we should avoid a situation in which there are 3 平声, 3 high tones, or 3 low tones. Okay, so avoid that situation. When it comes to the rhyme, just as in poems, in a name, characters with the same or similar rhymes will go better together. Okay, so for example, this name, English name is Katie, and the Chinese name I used 可地. Okay, so these sound similar, and this is also meaningful in Chinese. Okay, so for this given name, I just need to think of a surname that coordinate with it better. Okay, so the choices I have is 你 or 宁. Okay, so I finally chose this 你. Why? Because the sound of 你 go better together with the 地. They have the same rhyme. Okay, so 你可地 sounds better than 宁可地. 宁可地 is actually a little bit difficult to pronounce. In addition to phonetics, we also need to consider writing. Okay, so here is a written tip. Chinese characters have different structures. So some Chinese characters have a horizontal left-right structure, whereas some other Chinese characters have a vertical, like top-down structure. Okay, so in a good Chinese name, there should be a combination between this left-right structure and top-down structure. So for this point, my name is really a bad example because all 3 characters are left-right structures. Okay, so this name can be written very long, like occupying a whole line. So we don't want that. A good example for this point is like this, 李诺言. So this name is for the English name Noah L. Okay, so yeah, 李诺言. And you can see the surname is a top-down structure, and then Noah is a left-right structure, and then Yan, this is a simple character. Okay, so putting together, they look really nice. A more advanced tip is the meaning tip, semantic tip. Okay, so for example, I had a student whose name is Daniel M. Okay, so and then for Daniel, I thought of this Chinese name I thought was extremely cool, Dong Li. because this is from a poem 采菊东篱下. Okay, so and then I need to think of a surname that coordinate with it. In Chinese, we have a couple of choices of surnames starting with M. So I eventually I chose this Meng. Okay, because of Mencius. Mencius is a Confucian scholar. So Dongli itself has a Taoist scent, and then Meng represents Confucianism. So putting together is like putting together Confucianism and Taoism. So it is like give us a educated, like literary feeling. So this name, I really like this name. Some examples of a good coordination between the surname and the given name include, let's look at this, 梅柳岸. Okay, literally 梅 means plum blossom, and 柳 means willow, 岸 means riverbank. Okay, so these three images just always go together in Chinese literature to depict a dreamy and poetic environment. So for example, in the famous drama 牡丹亭, I think it's a peony pavilion in English, okay, in 牡丹亭, okay, so the main character, the main male character, his name is Liu Mengmei, and in the Dream of the Red Chamber, okay, so there is a poem 不在梅边在柳边. So the Mei and the Liu, plum blossom, willow, and riverbank, they just always go together. Another example that I really like is this, 谈墨客. Okay, so 墨客, putting together, means scholar, and then 谈 means, this is speech radical, so it means talk about. Okay, so 谈墨客, putting together, give us a literati feeling. Okay, so in our culture, like we respect literati. With this knowledge in mind, now let's look at the names of some famous professors in the field of Chinese studies. So basically, we are looking at the names of some famous sinologists. The first name we are looking at is this, Fei Zhenqing, and his English name is Zhang King Fairbank. Let's first look at the sound, okay? So this Fei, in terms of sound, it corresponds to his surname, Fairbank. And then Zheng exactly corresponds to Zhang, and then Qing exactly corresponds to King. Okay, so and then in terms of meaning, Zheng means upright or integrity, and the Qing means honest, clear. Okay, so the meaning is also very nice. Okay, so now let's look at the three characters. You can notice that this Fei has a top-down structure, whereas this Zheng is a simple character, and Qing has a left-right structure. So these three characters look perfect together. This is one example. Now let's look at another example. So this is another historian, Shi Jingqian, and his English name is Jonathan Spence. So now let's first look at the sound. The sound of Shi corresponds to Spence, and the sound of Jingqian corresponds to Jonathan. Okay. Then let's look at the meaning. So Shi means history, and then Jing means landscape, Qian means change, and Jingqian put together is always being used in Chinese literature to describe history. So Shi Jingqian, it really makes sense together. And by the way, this person himself is a historian, so this name is really perfect for him. This is pretty much everything that I want to say. To summarize a little bit, to pick a Chinese name for yourself, you need to first consider the sound, and then the meaning, and then the coordination between the surname and the given name. On my website, there is a complete list of how common English names and surnames can be meaningfully translated into Chinese. With the help of that list, and also with the help of your Chinese friends, I believe you can get a very cool Chinese name. Okay, thank you for watching. 谢谢你们，再见，bye.